the Postal Services St. Martin had a quite important meeting with me during the past week. I met with PSS head Ms. Marinka Gums and Ms. Wilson to address current issues being faced by Postal Services St. Martin. There is actually, after our discussions and based on information that I'd received from Central Bank and other banking officials during my meetings the week before, it is clear that this problem that we have with Aruba and Curacao in terms of persons in St. Martin no longer being able to send funds to their family members there comes from the fact that, yes, partially from the fact that Curacao and Aruba were looking at St. Martin's public statement as a so-called threat because we do not have, or the Post Services does not have, a compliance officer. No other banking services on St. Martin have had any issues because each bank on St. Martin, according to central bank regulations, has a compliance officer. So the post office was informed that once they have that person hired in, that they would be able to then continue with their international money transfer services. So they are expecting to mitigate that situation as soon as possible. I also had a courtesy meeting with the sitting management of the Central Bank of Curacao and St. Martin, who visited the St. Martin during last week. I sat with them on Wednesday, January 22nd, and they gave an update on some of the current challenges being faced, which I must say, after sitting with our Minister of Finance, that had already been brought up to speed on these. However, the management was here. More information, of course, will be forthcoming, but the management of the bank, together with the supervisory board, is working to mitigate the situation at the Hero Bank. Also during last week, as Minister of General Affairs, I was representing or presenting the draft pension reform legislation in Parliament. And in determining the way forward, I will be having further discussions with the Committee of Civil Servants Union, CCSU, formerly CHEOA, next week. They had indeed requested meetings. However, those meetings were not requested pertaining to the pension reform. But of course, during next week's meeting, this discussion will also take part, or this will also form part of the agenda. As stated before, it is my goal to achieve the best possible outcome for the civil servants, understanding that with the current status of our pension legislation, that we would run into serious problems to be able to pay out in the next 10 to 15 years. It is very difficult at one moment to turn back once once the unions who were part of the discussion from the beginning have committed themselves to it and later now see a problem. So I am just getting the information now that some of the reasons why they did not, quote unquote, notice changes were made that were different to what they had originally agreed upon. As the last in the long line of general affairs ministers to be dealing with this piece of legislation, and also having served in Parliament and having questioned why certain consultations had not been done, which was since last May. I had expected that that had been done. The organization did assure me that that had been done, but it still appears that the union is dissatisfied with the outcome of those meetings. What is clear, or what had been made clear to me, which maybe was missed during my opening statements in Parliament, is that certain agreements had been made since 2016 about the way forward. The CHEOA changed to the CCSU, and these unions together, who represent workers on St. Martin, agreed on what the criteria would be to be members of the CCSU. So membership had to be that you represented at least a minimum of 10% of the organization of civil servants, whether it's police or whether it's other civil servants. And it is clear that, and another requisite was that you had to be registered on island. NRPB and ABFO were both Curacao-based in unions. The ABVO, in the meantime, has registered on St. Martin and does have now a local branch. However, the NRPB has not. So it is still not a legitimate union to be dealing with or being a member of the CCSU. So for me, due diligence has to be done also by the unions. And if you agree to and set the criteria, you are part of the group that set the criteria to protect St. Martin workers, and that you require that the union would have at least a 10% representation, then it is clear now that the unions that are stating that they're not having a say within what CCSU has agreed to are actually not in compliance. And while they were allowed to go along in the discussions back then, it was clear that certain changes would have to be made, and they would have to do their due diligence. So I'd like to appeal to the unions in question to live up to those agreements, and to the civil servants themselves. If you find yourself underrepresented, so if you belong to a union with less than 10% representation, then that is for you, the civil servant, to choose which union should represent you, because the one that would have a say within the CCSU would be the one with more than 10% representation in that union. So then for us as civil servants, and I am also one, we must decide then who represents us. And for me, it is important that the union maintains lives up to their responsibility to the workers. So you cannot agree to something on paper and later retract that agreement, you know, so it cannot just go like that. I'm looking forward to open and transparent discussions with the unions and their representatives in the CCSU, and even individually if necessary, because of course to have a discussion with me, you don't need to have a minimum of 10% representation. I am willing to listen to all concerned, but it really concerns me that it has taken so long for hoor and wederhoor to take place in a good and transparent manner.
GEBE has been faithfully serving the communities of St. Martin, powering your home and our economy. Come rain or shine, our qualified team of professionals are working hard 24 hours a day to provide you and your family with safe, reliable electricity and water. We use the latest technologies and test our products daily to maintain the highest international standards. Our friendly staff is always there to assist you, whether in person, over the phone, or online. We are committed to constantly improving our products and services, making them more efficient, effective, and environmentally friendly to serve you better today and our next generation of clients tomorrow. GEBE, powering a brighter future.
Our friend Megawati is here with tips to save you energy. 1. Turn your airco temperature up. 2. Use a ceiling fan instead. 3. Buy energy-saving products. Save some green with NVGEB.
Our winner in best attendance is Cadet Gilbert.
Present!
And best attendance for us is 70% or higher. Congratulations, Cadet Gilbert. In the category of most disciplined, we would like to call runner-up Cadet Ellis. Our winner in the category of most disciplined is Cadet Jack. Congratulations, Cadet Jack. In the category of Best Academic, I would like to call first runner-up Cadet Pash.
Present.
Congratulations, Cadet Pash. I would now like to call forth our winner in Best Academic, Cadet Gilbert.
Present.
Our last category is Most Outstanding in the Cadet rank. Our first runner-up is Cadet Gobbin. Congratulations, Cadet Gobbin. Our winner for the most outstanding category is Cadet Blake.
Present.
Congratulations, Cadet Blake. On behalf of the St. Martin Youth Brigade Board, I would hereby like to congratulate all cadets and brigadiers once more. Thank you.
Debbie Swannigan, she is the instructor coordinator of the youth brigade. Also, she is a sergeant as well.
First lieutenant.
First lieutenant.
That's what it does, yes, first lieutenant.
And of course, Jacques
Will take over my
is
position.
the incoming coordinator of the youth brigade. Debbie, first of all, it has been such an interesting journey for your person. Looking back to where you are today, how would you go about categorizing or describing your journey?
My journey has been one of where I have taught, and through teaching I have learned. And that has been the theme that I found that ran throughout my time at the brigade. And it's incredible that when you work with youth, you think that you come to give, but in truth, they have so much to give to you as well in order for you to give them back. And that I have found the most profound thing about being around these young people.
I'm sure you have had several challenges, especially having to deal with such a young generation with such high level energy.
Yes. Youth these days are exposed to so much right now, and it was important that you were a sort of a filter that could help them digest and grapple with the information that was coming at them, and in their development, in their personal development, their leadership development. This was very important in order for me to be able to assist that process.
You'll be leaving?
Sorry?
You will be leaving.
I will be leaving, yes.
Why?
I have done it for 4 years, and I think after you've done something for about 4 or 5 years, you should actually pass the baton on to somebody else. I think that I've given the brigade what I can, and I think it's time for new energy, and I found that right away when I met Jack. I actually phoned Jack. We were at a conference together, and I said, "Can you do a conference on body language?" And I was so impressed with what he was able to do then. Later on, when he said that he was on the market, that I was like, oh, this is perfect. It is a perfect opportunity for this young man to take over right now.
Here for the swearing ceremony or pinning ceremony of the youth brigade. First of all, what does that speak for you as the first-time minister?
Well, luckily I had the opportunity 2 years ago as being part of the Justice Committee to speak to most of these youth at a session, and I'm very proud today to see what has developed in terms of the brigade. I'm very, very proud of them.
Obviously, they are doing positivity in the community of St. Martin. What would you suggest to other youngsters in the same age range as the youth brigaders?
Well, brigade is something that we hear a lot from our parents, or it was back in the days, and I'm glad to see now that they are bringing this back in the forefront, and I think it's a very positive thing for our young people to get involved in.
Make use of WIB mobile banking with easy access and direct usage of face recognition, PIN code, or fingerprint. Download WIB mobile banking app and make your transaction from anywhere at any time. For more information, visit wib-bank.net/quick-login.
Mr. Brown, thank you for your question. I would like to reiterate what the Prime Minister just stated in terms of investing more in our youth to prevent. So prevention is always better than cure. So we take preventative measures. The Prime Minister elucidated how we plan to invest more in the budget into our youth programs. She also mentioned Miss Lally Center. And we try to, before you reach to Miss Lally Center via education, you try to avoid that. But when they are there, you try to rehabilitate them in order for them not to continue in a life of crime, if you want to call it that. And so that's the answer, basically, invest more in our youth. So that are the steps that we have taken as a government thus far in order to slow the process or even stop the process when it comes to our youth getting involved in crime and eventually graduating to higher levels of crime. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Duran. We now move to the second round of questions. Nikisha, you have the floor.
My second question is for Minister Duran. Earlier you mentioned some statistics in regards to car robberies and parts and so forth. Can you give the name of the insurance company that provided this information, and also what are some of the concrete plans that will be taken by the ministry for this approach?
Thank you for your question, Ms. Bosman. I'd rather not mention the name of the insurance company at this point, but that's why I emphasized that it was one company, so that you know that the numbers are much greater. In regards to the plans, I mentioned the requirements for re-registering of vehicles. Once we deal with the requirements via inspection, via the receivers, via our police as well, then they will be able to make it more difficult for people to register stolen vehicles. That will be a way to mitigate the issue somewhat. And moving forward, as I mentioned, I was also informed yesterday that I think in 2016, there was already an entire plan of approach and everything, but it never was rolled out. So I still have to meet with the representative of the insurance companies, and he will elucidate more, and I have a meeting scheduled with him, I think on Tuesday next week. So then I will be able to elaborate further in terms of concrete plans moving forward. But for now, once you tackle the re-registering, that will deal with a lot of the issues, because right now it's very easy. And bill of sales are being forged, insurance documents are being forged, and that is the main issue that is making it so easy for people to steal cars and register them and sell them again.
While teachers have to, under this situation, deal with the students, the minute a teacher, and we are now experiencing a teacher where her property has been vandalized, because when you have to correct the unruly children, these are things that you get a sped off. So it is utterly frustrating. And I believe I should definitely say that it is not zero tolerance, of course, in the schools. We have against fighting, we have against the destruction of property of the school, or even personal property of the teachers. We have seen vandalism taking place against the teachers, their cars, etc., in different school areas, but this is not acceptable in our community. So when a teacher can experience that it's going to reach to the door of the home in private property, and your how you would say, your what you work hard for, you have to work hard, and what you work hard for is just being destroyed, vandalized, because of your correction towards unruly children. That is also sad. So psychologically, we need to have all these different issues dealt with in a timely fashion, to avoid having repeat situations, and to avoid that people would just abuse then of teachers, and the fact that they are committed to their work and motivated to see the students move forward. We have, as a community, to cry out for the protection of our teachers, because without teachers, where would we stand? I still don't believe that computers will be able to educate our children. We need that human aspect, the teachers. And teachers sacrifice a lot then to be netted out this type of treatment. So in saying that, I do hope that parents also take note, and even the perpetrators take note, that it is not good to do or to vandalize other people's good. Okay? So, any questions for me about the different subject matters?
Why is it taking so long for the schools, in other words, the government or even so the school boards, to solve this problem? Because 3 years is not like it's 1 year.
It was brought to my attention at the Martin Luther King, firstly, that they were even given timelines and the methods of how this repair would happen. Like the repairs would start structurally with this level, this area would be repaired first, and when it's done, then we would do that area. All of this was given to the teachers in an explanation from since the ending of last year. So they were utterly surprised when they came in and they found that nothing has been done. But apart from that, we And the same thing was done at the Lionel Connor School also. But apart from that, we have to realize that it is not about a one-time fix only and only about the roof. The whole environment, bathrooms, we should realize that these bathrooms should be renewed on a constant basis. Take out the old, put in new, sanitize, etc. You should have flowing water in the classes for hand washing. Look at this point in time when you are being advised by the Minister of Health that you should do constant hand washing. Go and take an inventory in the classes. Simple things that has to do with plumbing. But as a teacher, we are not, how you would say, we are not trained in that area. But if you don't have on board your institution or your caring team a plumber, then guess what? You cannot get this thing done because it's a whole bureaucratic procedure. And then basically they want to now sell that it would not be that bureaucratic if we get a school board. I don't see really why a school board would make such a big difference. You understand? It is, you have on a constant basis people coming, looking, assessing, making a report. At the end of the day, remember 2 weeks ago when Martin Luther King started, everybody in public education like that is there now denied that they didn't know nothing, they didn't hear nothing, they didn't feel nothing, they didn't see nothing. The amount of people that would come to the schools on a regular basis to do assessments, that's why you have the schools don't say, we are tired. We are tired of seeing people walking over the premises and nothing happening.